Well, it's story time with
Hi, it's Nana. Time for another story. I was going to read this at the beach, but then it was so hot that I almost burst into flames and decided I'll just come home and do it in the air conditioning. It is a hot one. So, but I know it's probably cold where you're at in America, so I'm sending you big warm hugs, okay? All right. Well, today we're going to read Roos in Shoes. This is by Tom Keneally, and the pictures are by Gillian Johnson. Huh. Roos in Shoes. All right. There is a farm near Kujong to which the Kanga tribes belong. You'll find there every kind of roo, the gray and red with females blue. They crowd in there close to the ranges because it keeps them safe from strangers. The food plains farmed by Roger Drew. The slopes and grasslands suit the roo. They like to wave at one another, the Drews, the kangaroos. The family Drew grow wheat and clover. In paddocks summer floods wash over. They make an honest living thus, and send their daughter on the bus to school in Calydus. Some said to gentle farmer Drew, "You ought to put more cattle through. You ought to have them roamin' high along the hills towards the sky." But this was Farmer Drew's reply: "There was a time, before Drews came, when all the country was the same, the flood plains and the hills alike, the rivers full of native pike. All that belonged to kangaroos, before the coming of the Drews. I don't intend to drive the Roos out of the land they love to use, the land from which they wave to Drews, and Drews wave too." Then one day came another threat that caused the Drews and Roos to fret. For lower land was so admired, electric companies now vied to buy Drew land to build high towers, to link the cities with their power. "It must be done," the Drews were told, "before you're even halfway old. You'll be paid off, gone in an hour. We need your land to carry power, and we can make you take our price. You'll find non-farming life quite nice." Oh, what a sadness fell that night as Farmer Drew reviewed his plight. The Roos and he no longer neighbors, or doing one another favors, or sharing land they both loved well, where splendid evening shadows fell, and made all creatures feel so well. The Roos, likewise the Drews. And in the darkness on the ridge above the river Carritage, the kangaroos remained upright, discussing how to stand and fight, to save their friends upon the farm who stood between themselves and harm, who kept away the men with guns that shot at Roos on other runs. The Joeys even stayed up too, watching as discussion flew between the older kangaroos, the senior males and females who were leaders of the tribes of Roo. "He'll hate it in the city, too," said one extremely wise old Roo. "He's likely to get very blue." "This is great country we all share. The trees are tall, the weather's fair. The ancestors we never knew, and ancestors of Roger Drew, they lie here too. To send him to another part, it will, I tell you, break his heart. If we're to save this place our dream, we'll have to find a clever scheme." Late that night in Kujong, strange shadows flitted right along the tree-lined pavements wide and long. Outside the shoe store of May Strong, they stopped and hummed a little song, a song to keep the town asleep, to keep the townsfolk snoring deep. Now kangaroos can open doors by concentrating on their paws. They do so only for good cause. They concentrate in threes and fours, and by, they go the doors. There go the doors, as did the door of May Strong's store. The oldest Kanga wrote a note. Dear Mrs. Strong, we took a vote. We'd like to buy your total stock, except the frilly little frock. We need to use your shoes for honest use, and we're all set to pay our dues. So here's my golden credit card. Please use it with our best regard. And just to show we mean no harm, accept this jar of Kanga Balm. To help your skin, you'll be like kin. I wonder how they get a gold card. Interesting. Now when the Drews looked out at dawn across the frosty morning lawn, they saw a thing you never would. Below the ridge, the Roos all stood, on tiptoe, shoes on lower paws, against the normal Kanga laws that said a Roo should never use a shoe. When men turned up to build the towers, the Roos had stood there for some hours. Joeys in sneakers, Roos in pumps, or cocktail shoes with glistening rumps. Boots designed for riding horses or hiking to the snowy sources. Look at their shoes. It's hysterical. And Roger Drew, he said, my friends, you'll hurt yourself for no good end. I have to go. I can't remain, so please don't cause yourself such pain. The oldest Roo replied outright, we are your brothers in this fight. We mean to show that Roos in shoes are no more likely to bemuse, or seem ridiculous to man, than building towers on your land. There's no excuse for Roos in shoes, and none for tower building crews, on land belonging to the Drews. And we will wear our sneakers, pumps, our cocktail shoes with glistening rumps, our boots designed for riding horses or hiking to the snowy sources, until the tower builders wilt, and leave their towers all unbuilt, till we are left just as we choose, above the Roos, below the Drews. The tower builders did their best, but could not work with any zest, when watched by lines of Roos in shoes, and in time by TV crews, who filmed the lines of the shoe-girt Kangas, standing politely with their banners. They should be kept to live with Roos. They should be let live where they choose. And people came to cheer the Roos, at first in merely ones and twos, and then in crowds who lined the fence, and thought it made the plainest sense for Kanga folk to guard their land and make this most amusing stand. One day Prime Minister Anne Adair arrived along with daughter Claire. They saw the Roos in solemn lines, wearing their finest number 9s. Claire turned to her quite famous mother and said, now listen, Mum, I'd rather see these towers all torn down and put much further out of town. Somewhere that won't upset these creatures. Somewhere that doesn't have such features as Drews and Roos in shoes. What could she say? P.M. Adair, a woman wanting to be fair, who said she had a special care for native beasts and bushland rare, and while the cities were electric and needed power fast and hectic, she thought that here on the Drews' farm the towers did not good, but harm. She called her ministers to meet, and by the fence along the street they voted in a solid block in favor of the Kanga flock. Now at this news Drew shed tears and served the tower builders beers. As for the painfully shod Roos, they seemed to need no further clues. They all launched into Kanga's song about the land where they belong, removed their shoes and sang along. So did May Strong. The story might have ended then, and I could put away my pen, except for Edouard de Gruz, who read within the Evening News the poignant tale of Roos in shoes. De Gruz, a well-known stage director, tracked the Roos to their own sector and said, "What gifts you Roos possess, such huge potential to impress. I can see your names in lights, Roos in shoes, full every night, and you'd be famous, make your millions, living your lives in grand pavilions." The Roos said, "Thank you, Edouard, but we would find it very hard. For we're not freaks, we're simply Roos. The only reason we wore shoes was for the love of our dear Drews. Theaters aren't the place for us. We don't like all that noise and fuss. We're happy right here where we are, the farm below, the ridges far." And so the Roos proved yet again, the finest thing for beast and man is to be faithful to your friends. They put on shoes not for the fame, and not to play some silly game, but simply to save Farmer Drew, those Roos who once wore shoes. The end. So there you go. That was Roos in Shoes. I hope you're having a good day and keeping warm. Here's Pippa. She wants to say hi. Hi, Julian. Nanna loves you. Have a good day.